Welcome, friends, to the Readers Public Show. How you doing? It's another beautiful weekend, and I'm super excited this evening to be here. I hope you're ready to learn. You're ready to be transformed and to move from where you are to the next level. I see three of you live this hour. Tell me your name and where you're joining from in the comments. Where you joining from? Okay, my name is Faith Michael. Yeah, welcome to my channel. Every Friday, we try as much as possible to show up and have beautiful conversations around personal development, lifelong learning, and all that has to do with how you can move from where you are right now to the next level. Are you interested in experiencing a life of brilliance that is laced with so much positivity on every side, so that you can finally be able to experience the life of your dream, the life of brilliance? Today is about pathways to excellent learning, part three. We started off this conversation about 2 weeks ago. This is the third installment. At some point, I felt it was just going to be one session and that would be all. But then, here we are, friends. It's the third installment and it's been beautiful all the way. Okay, let me see if I'm live here. If you can see me, let me know, please. Can you see me? Okay, I see three of you live. Where are you joining the show from? Where are you joining from? Where are you joining from? Can you see me clearly? Mamfangwa, how are you doing? How was your day? How was your day? I hope you can still hear me. Please hold on. Welcome to class. Chris, how you doing? Welcome, Chris. How you doing today? I see Mercy. I'm even in the comment section interacting with you all. Um, I hope your day went well. So this is going to be a beautiful conversation because we're going to be, I'm sure we will still have one more session after today. If you have not followed through till now, please go back and listen to our previous episodes on pathways to excellent learning. The very first day we had something that had to do with self-regulations, right? And it was a beautiful conversation all the way. I believe you were blessed, isn't it? Yeah. So today we're looking at making effective feedback your superpower. Making effective feedback your superpower. This my natural light is very bright. Let me change my service provider. This is so blurry. I think MTN is better now. Let me see. Can you see me, guys? Can you see me? Welcome, ma'am. Odinachi, how you doing this evening? Is it clearer from your end? Please check if it is clearer. I hope it is not blurry. Can you hear me very well? If you can't hear me, please just type I can hear you in the comments. If you can hear me, type I can hear you, please. Okay, let me check from this end. Can hear me, type I can hear you, please. Okay, let me check from this end. Oh, can you see me clearly? Can hear me, type I can hear you, please. Okay, let's just take it up right away. I think we are good to go. Okay, welcome, I'm Evelyn. So it's about pathways to excellent learning, and it's been fun, right? I believe you've learned a lot so far. If you have not followed us, please go back and check. The first episode we looked into self-regulation. Second episode was about from comfort zone to growth zone last week, and today we're looking at feedback. How many of you love feedback? If you love feedback, type feedback in the comments. How many of you love feedback? If you're in love with feedback, let me see feedback in the comment section. Making effective feedback your superpower. Making effective feedback your superpower. Type that in the comments so we can pull it up here. All right. Feedback is very effective and essential when it comes to learning, when it comes to personal growth. A lot of times we want to learn in isolation. Like I would always say that learning in isolation is not the best. Yeah, it will not take you to where you want to be or where you ought to be part time. It is going to delay your growth process, and there's going to be a lot of distortions along the journey, along the way, because you do not have a growth process that is laced in accountability and feedback. Okay, so when we say feedback, it's a measure of accountability. For somebody to come up to you and say, "Oh, Odinashi, you did not do this well. Why don't you do it that way?" It's a great thing, like it's a blessing. Sometimes you can even ask for feedback ourselves. Yes, if you are bright, you're smart, you are interested in transformation, like you are dogged about it, there are times you ask for feedback. The only time I see that people get to ask for feedback, thank you, Martin. The only time I see people get to ask for feedback is when there is a situation, right? There's a situation that requires that they are able to, sort of produce something for possibly a leadership position, business, whatever. So you see people looking out for feedback, saying, "Oh, what do you think about me?" and all of that. That is just a step. All right. What if we decide to make it a daily commitment that we are able to ask for feedback so that we can grow? Right? You just finished teaching a class. I can remember back in the days, I do this a lot. Like I can finish just teaching a class and I'm asking, what do you think about the class? What do you think about my deliveries? Was it beautiful? Was it excellent? Was it good enough? Yes. So there's never a time you get to and you're like, okay, I've gotten it all together. I'm not going to do this anymore, right? Feedback should be a consistent thing, consistent approach to execution and personal transformation. I hope you can hear me. Okay, it should be something that you deliberately seek for on a daily basis. Like this is what you want. You want to achieve a certain height in mastery and result. In fact, in my reading for execution blueprint, that I started off with last week, I think right now I've been able to coach up to 5 persons on that journey. It's been an amazing thing because for the fact that you can be coached for a few minutes in a day, and then you go back, you're given an assignment, you're told what to do, you go back and do it, and then you come back again and say, oh, this is what I have done, this is the amount of results I have been able to attain. It's beautiful, right? Okay, just knowing fully well that you can actually utilize this tool so well for your transformation is a necessity, right? Knowing fully well that you can use it for your transformation is your superpower. I like us to take this deliberately so that our learnings can be congruent to where we are headed, to the journey that we're currently embarked on. No matter where you find yourself, most of the time, the reason we say we are nurturing our kids, we're nurturing our children, is because we can always give them feedback. We can always tell them, oh, you did it this way, you're supposed to do it that way, you didn't do it well. We can always do that for our kids. How about ourselves as grown up adults? How do we give ourselves feedback to ensure that we are constantly growing? Okay. I think the problem that most of us have is because possibly while we're growing up, we didn't have a lot of constructive feedback. Most of the feedback we had were from a negative perspective, right? A negative angle, and it didn't really enhance us. Rather, people pull us down. They say all sort of negative words that somehow possibly have been able to sink into our subconscious. And right now, we cringe at the voice of people trying to tell us we didn't do something well. All right, we die down, we go into our caves because somebody has said you didn't do it well, right? This now coaching in different arenas, in different industry, in different industries, and we are really uh, passionate on about their performance or behavior, and it is intended to guide their future improvement, right? Like I said already, feedback can either be positive or constructive, but anything out of that is not a good feedback. So when feedback is positive, we say that it is really about praising someone for what they've done well. If it is constructive, it is when you now begin to highlight areas of improvement. And for most of us, these areas of improvement is where we don't want to even go. How many of you can attest to what I'm saying? Like this area of improvement is where we don't want to go because we are afraid that people will talk down on our ego, right? People will pull us down, and at the end of the day, we are not able to really become um, our best self. We're not able to represent our best self. Okay, so in as much as we love people to give us constructive feedback and positive feedback, we must also be deliberate in giving those sort of feedback to people, right? We must be deliberate in giving those sort of feedback. Okay, Mamodina, she says, I can attest. Yes, we must be deliberate because most of the times we throw caution to the wind. We just throw caution to the wind. It seems I'm just going to do audio. Please, let's just continue. I hope you can hear me. I think the last time I did audio was really profound. Okay. Okay, so like I was saying already that at the end of the day, you just understand that it is being delivered. All right. So if I may ask you in the comment, beyond just growth, focus today, why do you think feedback is important? If you are still there, you can answer in the comments. Why do you think feedback is important? It can help us to understand our strength. I'd like you to write that in a note. Yeah, so sorry about that. Network has been something else. Okay, so why is feedback important? It is important because it helps us to understand our strength and areas of growth. It will help us to understand our strength and areas for growth. Okay, you can type that in the comment. If you want to grow, if you want to advance, if you want to be able to ascend the ladder of progress and move from where you are right now to the next level. Okay, feedback allows us to be able to understand our strengths and weaknesses, because when somebody comes off and is like, okay, how did you get here, what's going on, what's happening, you can really just say, oh, okay, this is what I'm capable of, and that was what I'm capable of. And when you are placed in an environment where you can display certain levels of expertise, you now begin to understand your zone of genius, you now begin to understand your areas of expertise, right? So it helps us to understand as strengths and areas of growth. So if your coach comes off and is like, oh, Fongwan, you did this thing like this, you're supposed to do it this way. Why don't you do it like this next time? Then it's going to open you up to say, okay, I think this is it. That is it. You'll be able to bridge the gap. The essence of our personal transformation is because we want to be able to bridge gaps in our lives. We want to be able to step beyond the comfort zone, move from where we are to the next level. Another thing is that it will enhance your learning. All right. Once you are the type that loves to go for feedback, it will enhance your learning because it is going to clarify what needs to be learned and how you can achieve it. That's feedback, right? To enhance your, it will also boost your motivation. It will boost your motivation because when people give you positive feedback, it will encourage you. It will motivate you. If you listen to me again and again, I've often said here that when it comes to feedback, we have the coaching feedback, we have the accountability feedback. I mean the coaching feedback, evaluation feedback, and appreciation feedback. These are the three major type of feedback, right? So when somebody comes up and is able to appreciate you for what you have done, all right, it is going to boost your positivity, right? It's going to boost your motivation. Okay, so positive feedback really allows you to be able to stay motivated. But in the terms of constructive feedback, that alone can show you the clear path you need to follow to improve. Like I said already from the beginning, more like feedback is segmented into two compartments, the positive feedback and the constructive feedback. There is also the feedback that is not positive. I hope you know that. There's also the feedback that is neither positive or negative. It is just negative in itself because that sort of feedback will never build you, right? It will not build you. It's only going to pull you down. Like I said before, that the reason most of us today were not intentional about asking for feedback is because where we grew up, the environment we find ourselves has been able to really stifle us. And maybe for the longest of time, the kind of feedback we've been used to has been the type that is not really positive. And as a result, a lot of things have been, you know, cultivated in our system that right now we find it very difficult. I mean, very, very difficult to accept feedback. Even when somebody's coming off to say, oh, Fongwan, this happened, or what do you think? We are quick to just shy away. We are quick to run away. We are quick to say, oh, don't bother, just relax. I know better. I know what I am doing, right? So it is important to understand that. Let's look at some of the key characteristics of feedback when we're talking about feedback. Number one is that your feedback must be specific. All right, for feedback to be effective, for it to produce result, it must be specific. So for somebody who is giving you feedback, the person must clearly identify. I'd like you to write that down. The person must clearly identify what you did well, and the area you also need improvement. It must be clearly stated. It must be clearly stated. What area did you do well and what area do you need improvement? And that's usually the work of a coach because they have to be detailed, right? But if someone who happens not to be an expert in that space is giving you feedback, it is your duty to ask for specification, right? So when somebody comes to you and say, "Oh, Fongwan, that was a good job," that's not the way to really break down the feedback for you to understand. All right. So the person should be able to say, "Oh, Fongwan, you did a good job in analyzing that report. You did a good job in preparing that meal, especially the way you mixed the ingredients or the recipes together. It was really beautiful." All right. Instead of the person to say, "Oh, you are a good cook." Do you see? So there has to be that level of specificity for you to experience growth. Okay, so from now henceforth, if somebody is to ask you for feedback, please try as much as possible to ask for specific feedback, right? Why is the person saying this? Why is the person putting that across to you, right? The person should be able to give you specific feedback based on what areas you need to improve and what you also did absolutely well on. All right, even if the person is not able to deliver at that level, the onus lies on you for because you are interested in growth to ask the person, please, could you be more specific about your feedback? I really appreciate it. If you said I did well, please, in what area? Can you spell it out? All right. Somebody can also say to you right now, Fongwan or Dora, and say, "Oh, you're such a reckless driver. You're such a reckless driver. You drive anyhow, right? Or you do this." So instead of you to just take that to heart and start getting mad or start feeling somehow or even start frowning, the next question you should ask is, please, how am I a reckless driver? In what area? It could be that when you were driving, you were on the phone, you were making a call. That could make the person to say you are a reckless driver. Not necessarily because you don't know how to drive or because you overtake somehow, you do the things you're not supposed to do while driving. But just that alone, once you're able to know what it is constructively, the person may not be constructive because they've not gone through this lecture, so they don't understand what it means to give constructive feedback. So people give feedback based on their own emotional state, based on their own experiences, and based on where they are also coming from. Do you see that? So their own experiences, where they are coming from, their past can really influence the way they relate, right? Another thing is that for that feedback to make sense, it must also be timely, right? So after somebody have been able to partake or participate in an activity or they carried out an assignment, you must ensure that you give the feedback immediately so that it is relevant and fresh in their mind. All right. So that the feedback is relevant and fresh in their mind. Okay. Another thing is that the feedback must also be actionable. All right. So that the person would know the clear guidelines to follow in taking the next step. All right. In getting better. It must be actionable and it must also be balanced. All right. This is why you need a coach in your life. That feedback must be balanced. It must come with an element of positivity and an element of constructive feedback, okay, to avoid one-sided approach to things. So somebody says, "Oh, you did so well in this area, but you would have done this." All right. So that is really very important. Okay. So how do you then begin to give feedback? Whether you're a boss, you're a manager, you're a business person. Remember, the whole idea around this conversation is that we're able to build capacity, we're able to learn excellently because we're constantly learning, whether it's in the workplace, in the business environment, we are constantly learning. We are constantly building ourselves. We are a learning species. If you're deliberate and consistent, your learning will grow in accordance to the level of consciousness and awareness that you bring to the table on a daily basis. So, how do you give feedback that can be effective, whether as a coach, as a as a businessman, as a leader in an industry, as a parent, as a wife, husband, whatever position you find yourself. All right. How do you give feedback? You think about what you want to say and how you want to say it constructively. You think about it, that's the preparatory phase. You have to prepare. You don't just give feedback, gbas immediately you see it done. No, you think about it. You meditate on it. You talk, you pray about it possibly. All right? That's how to give feedback. Prepare your heart and say, okay, I'm going to be giving this person feedback. You see, most times, even when it's something that has to do with tension, right? You want to give it to the person just the way it is. Most times it is advisable, don't do that immediately. Go back and sleep on that matter. All right. Sleep on it, come back the next. You see that you're going to be calmer. So with that, you must have prepared your heart, collected your thoughts together, and you have something meaningful to share. So to share that feedback, you must think about what you want to say. All right. You must think about what you want to say to the person and how do you want to say it. If it's going to be both positive and constructive, good. You can go with the positive first, sandwich it in between the constructive, and then end it with a positive approach. All right, that's more like the sandwich effect to feedback, right? Where you bring the positive first, and then you put the constructive in the middle, and then you put the positive at the end of it. All right, no matter how the person is, we all want something that will lift up our egos, that will lift up ourselves, that will motivate us to want to be exceptional in our work, right? You're not going to keep pulling down people. You're not going to rather keep praising people because you feel that um, you have to praise them for them to be motivated. No, that element of constructive feedback, they may not appreciate it today, but as they also go further in life and begin to have certain level of understanding, it is going to open them up. All right. So yes, you must prepare your feedback here. Number two is that you must be direct and respectful. Address the person directly and respectfully. How many of you are very respectful here? Let me see. If you are respectful, type respectful here. If you are disrespectful, type disrespectful. I believe that we have intelligent and wonderful, amazing people here. You want to treat people respectfully, right? No matter who they are, even though they are sweeping your house, it doesn't matter. They're human beings, so you must treat them with respect. You must love them. If you had the opportunity to be doing the sweeping yourself, you would have been doing it yourself. But because you have somebody, you're paying them a certain amount of money at the end of each month, does not mean that you have to talk down on them, right? Does not mean that you have to talk down on them. You must be ready to um, excuse me. So you must not talk down on them. You must be ready to, um, yes, you must be respectful. Hope Friday, how are you? Welcome to class. Your feedback must be direct and respectful. All right. I know sometimes it may not be easy, especially when they have stepped on your, what do we call it? When you've been stepped on, right? It may not be easy for you to just give that sort of constructive feedback, but you can do it through preparation. Chris says, I need to laugh. Chris says, I don't know the way I am. Chris is very respectful. Yes, I've interacted with you now. You're very respectful. Is your online respect different from the physical? Oh my goodness. All right. So you must be respectful in presenting your feedback. Okay, like I said, you must use the feedback sandwich where you project the positive before the constructive, and then for many of you that have been working with me as my student, you see that I have used this again and again. Even if I want to give feedback, I don't go straight. I just have to appreciate you for your work. Many of you can attest to that. I appreciate you for all that you've done. Then in between, I will now give you the bass boost, and at the end, I will still celebrate you. Isn't it? So that's the way it's supposed to be, not because you know the mathematics or the rule, right? You just know that that's how it works. You cannot just go on to somebody and be like, how are you doing? No, how are you doing is even positive, right? Say hello. I just wanted to say that No, you don't do that. So you have to be ready. So another thing we should talk about is how do you receive feedback? How do you receive feedback? I want to ask you, Fongwa, Mercy, how do you receive feedback personally? How do you receive feedback? God has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness. For those of us that goes to the church, that believe in God, right? We know that He has given us everything that pertains to life and godliness, and for that reason, we believe that we have a lot of blessings in spiritual places that's been handed over to us by God. And all we need to understand is that all we need to understand is that the things that we have in the spiritual realm, camera is really, really bad. So they don't throw me out. Okay. I think it's back. Okay, so at the end of the day, just realize that He has given us everything. But how do we receive? Receptivity is a key factor, right? Is a key factor to your transformation. How do you receive what has been given to you? So when you are giving feedback, how do you receive them? All right, do you feel that, oh, you'll be trampled upon? Oh, why would this coach be telling me this like this? Is it not because of situation? I will not be a student in our community. You know, why would my parents say this to me? Why would that? If you are a parent, you know that your children also think the same way sometimes. You just have to make them understand that feedback is part of life. It is for accountability, it is for checkmating, right? It is for you to have sense because many a times, because we have limited awareness, we're constantly just missing out on a lot of things. Yes, we have limited awareness. We all have limited awareness, right? Sometimes you can be saying to yourself, I want to do this, but all of a sudden you have even forgotten, right? You've forgotten that you said you wanted to do this, right? We have limited awareness. So how do you receive? You pay attention. You want to receive feedback, learn to pay attention. Learn to pay attention without interrupting whoever is talking, whoever is trying to give you feedback. You listen actively, listen attentively, not for the fact that you want to be defensive or you want to reply. You want to listen sometimes to what they're saying, why they're saying what they're saying, what informed their decisions, and a whole lot more. So listening is a way to receive feedback, paying attention, and then also asking for clarifications. Don't jump into conclusion all of a sudden and say, okay, I know what she's saying, I know what he's saying, so that is it. No, ask for clarification. If there are areas you don't understand, if there are words and terms that have been used, instead of you to begin to attach some kind of emotions to them, just ask, what do you mean by that statement? Please, could you clarify? Right? It's as simple as ABC. Clarify what you mean by that. All right. Once the feedback is given, go back and evaluate, go back and reflect. All right. Take action and then make sure you follow up with whatever you have been told, whatever you have been taught, right? Or whatever you have been given. Remember, like I said from the beginning of this conversation, that feedback is a necessity. That was what I said from the beginning, that you on your own, for someone who wants to grow, you must be deliberate about asking for feedback. Sometimes just do it. What do you think about me in this area and in that area? Please, can you be as detailed as possible so that I will understand? How many of you have heard of the concept of the Johari window? Johari, the Johari window. The Johari window is a concept that allows for an individual, all right, for an individual to be able to have some sort of interactions, even with an external personality, to say, okay, what do you think about me? What are some of my blind spots? There are things that I have not seen about myself. I think you know based on how far we have come, right? Some of you that have been my friend, my student, we've been together for some time now. If I reach out to you and I'm like, what do you think about me? Some of you can write a memoir. Some of you can write a full book about Coach Faith. You're gonna be like, oh, Coach Faith is this. Coach Faith can do that. Coach Faith is like this. Before you know it, you have written a full book that is going to be enough to even read for days, not even an article, not even a chapter, a, a full book, right? So that aspect of things is very, very important that we're able to diligently seek it. All right. So I want to encourage you, friends, on your path to learning excellently and becoming the best of yourself. Seek feedback. Run after it as if your life depends on it. Run after feedback as though your life depends on it. Even when you're not giving feedback, you can ask, please, sir, please, ma'am, what do you think about this situation? You have just finished the presentation somewhere. Ask for your friends in there, ask the people that are closest to you, ask those that are connected to you, maybe as mentors. So, how was my delivery, sir? Please be honest with me. Which aspect do you think I should make improvement? Right? You've just read a book. Share what you have learned, and as you do it again and again, people begin to give feedback. Oh, why don't you do it this way? Why don't you make it better this way? Even as a coach, as a thought leader, many a times how do we improve on our work is when we get feedback from people based on their experiences with us, based on their encounters with us, and then we go back, tweak our approach, and realign our strategy. We realign the overall process and ensure that we're able to project better the next time. All right. I can remember writing a book that was in 2022, how to increase your concentration level while reading. And the first time I would ever interact with somebody telling me that he's not interested in that kind of a book is one of the reasons that the program I'm currently running was inspired. The person said to me, the person saw the book on my status and sent me a message, Coach Faith, we are not looking for how to increase our concentration level while reading. Please, I want to learn how to execute on ideas that I gain from books. My God, it was a light bulb moment for me. Prior to that, people have spoken about the fact that they find it difficult to integrate their principles from the work of the author, and it has informed me to go back and do research. That was when I started researching, and I came up with the understanding that every book has a major idea. So when this young person told me about the fact that they wanted to execute on ideas, what did I do? It was like a feedback for me, right? It was a feedback, not like it was a feedback, and I needed to start deliberating. A lot of questions have also been stirred up in that regard for so many years now. And I'm like, okay, okay, as I started last week, and I'm like, okay, 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 as of this that they are reading. And as such, I said, okay, let me start off with this project. In fact, it's been on my mind. Right, today I'm running the program ready for execution blueprint. If you want to participate, check the link in the comment. All right, if you go through the qualification phase, I would bring you on board and you will participate. Okay, I have coached since I started last week. I've coached about 5 persons or six, and it's been amazing just walking them through this journey and the transformation, the feedback, and all of that. It's been amazing. Like you can just begin to diagnose your own process, understand what you need in this season, understand what you need to really project a certain level of value within your organization, no matter your industry, no matter where you find yourself. All right? No matter your industry or where you find yourself. Okay? So I want you to begin to encourage open and positive atmosphere where feedback can be your tool for growth. All right, can be your tool for growth. Okay, there are two major productive skills. One major thing I've seen a lot of times is, Coach Fred, how do I build my speaking skills? How do I build my writing skills? And you think you can build it by just going through a course on public speaking mastery 101. Public speaking mastery 101, or writing, uh, becoming a writing expert. Those things are good. They're going to give you the foundational principles that you need to really step on to be able to build such a life that you want. But in a nutshell, there has to be a system that truly aligns with your learning process, such that as you continue on the journey of lifelong learning, you now begin to orchestrate your own learnings, you now begin to orchestrate your own blueprint, that even at the level of whatever superior result you want to bring to the table, you can just rinse the process, tweak it again, and launch. Tweak it again and launch. And if there are areas that are not fitting in, you pivot, you move a step ahead, and then you see how you tweak things to your favor. So this is really important. When you go to the hospital, doctor will diagnose and then gives, yeah, they will recommend drugs for you to go get, or you can be placed on certain level of treatment. It is as a result of the fact that they now know. So for you as an individual, really you have told yourself that you want to grow, you want to become this person. But then, are you deliberately nurturing an environment where feedback is being given to you? Are you deliberately nurturing that environment? It is important. Don't be afraid, no matter the kind of destructive criticism, kind of feedback you've been given, or you that has been delivered to you all through your years of existence. It doesn't really matter. What matters now is that you are willing and ready to rewire your paradigm. You're willing and ready to rewire your consciousness so that you can begin to receive deliberately the kind of feedback that will help you experience a leap in your growth. Do you understand that? So, like I said already, effective feedback must be specific, it must be timely, it must be actionable, it must be balanced, and it must come with key objectives. Okay? You must be ready to encourage yourself and as many as possible that are around your environment. Okay, that getting feedback is a way to grow, is a pathway to excellent learning. Have you learned something today, guys? Yes, I have learned a lot as well. This is a full-blown masterclass on feedback. All right, feedback, like I said already, is your superpower. Feedback is your superpower. We've spoken about how to give feedback extensively. What have you learned in the comments? Share with me. Share with me what you've learned. We've shared what it means to give feedback, how there has to be this, characteristics, and what it means to also receive. You give feedback and you receive feedback, and you must be deliberate about it. Okay, so it's about making effective feedback your superpower. Remember, when you give feedback, you can motivate people. When you also receive the right form of feedback, you can also motivate yourself. I'm going to close with these lines to say that however you want people to treat you in whatever relationship you're in, whether it's business, marriage, parenting, relational, whatever that you are in for, you can decide how well or how far you go with that relationship based on the kind of feedback and how you have been able to train people around you to give you the kind of feedback that you need. You can really train people for that. You can train them to give you feedback in a certain way. It just becomes so delicious that you can ask your questions in a certain manner. You can present your problems, you can present your issues and your challenges in a certain way. All right, in a certain way, that at the end of the day, you also can orchestrate how the feedback can flow, right? By asking empowering questions. All right. So you're done with the presentation. You're like, oh, my friend, you were in the hall. How was the presentation? Yes, because you're like, oh, it was great. It was beautiful. Okay, please tell me, how was my body movement? How was my eye contact? All right. How was my movement? Was it in alignment to what I was saying? Was there a proper reading? All right. You can begin to ask these questions. So what you are doing now is you are directing your learning. You're directing your feedback such that it can be more effective because you know what you want to do, you know what you want to learn. Possibly you're struggling in these different arenas, maybe your movement, maybe in the way you talk, the way you present. These and many more are very, very important things. It's been fun and amazing just having this conversation with you on feedback. I could go on and on and on and on and on and on, but we've got to go. It's Friday evening. I'm really grateful that you showed up. So sorry about the glitches so far. It's one of our challenge in this part of the world. We do hope that it will get better pretty soon. Yeah, it will get better very soon. So go ahead and dominate your world this season as you really look at the subject of feedback on a deeper level and begin to deliberately orchestrate your relationship. Okay, so let me see if I can recommend some books. It's been a while I recommended books. Um this is really profound and it's profound. Let me try and recommend. Okay. Okay, let's talk. Let's talk is the title of a book by okay. Um Thanks for the feedback. Thanks for the feedback by Douglas Stone and Shirley Hinn. The Science and Art of Receiving Feedback from Others. well. The science and art of receiving feedback well. Thanks for the feedback. And then this other one is feedback, and the subtitle says why we fear it, how to fix it. Why we fear it, how to fix it by Tamara Chandler and Laura Doley. Yes. Another one is the Handbook of Strategic 360 Feedback. Useful tools and strategies to optimize performance management. All right. So this one is looking at it from the aspect of performance management, useful tools and strategies to optimize performance management. So there are several books you can actually read in this area so that you can begin to grow your capacity and expand the science and art of receiving feedback by Douglas Stone and Shelley Yin. So these are some of the powerful books. Um, Yes, okay, you have learned this. You have to be more deliberate about giving and receiving feedback. Yes, because you can mal or make a people just by the kind of feedback that you give to them, right? Um, so Odinachi says, I've learned a lot, coach. You see, we are talking about feedback. Now let's start practicing. Mama Odinachi, what did you learn? To be precise, specificity. When it comes to feedback, I have asked you, have you gained anything from today's session? That is me asking for your feedback. So it should be as specific as possible so that we can be actionable. So let's practice it now. Yes. So she also said the session has been profound. You see, so she has not given us specific feedback. The session has been profound is not a feedback yet. We want specificity. So if you want to participate in my reading for execution blueprint, um, you can apply so that as slots get to open in the future, you can be part of it. Yes, the future I mean is upper week, right? Next week is already filled up, so you can apply for upper week if you want to be part of a reading for execution blueprint to help to so that you can be helped to be able to understand key areas of your life that you want to step into and unravel key patterns and blueprints that can facilitate your journey. You don't want to miss it. It's a one-on-one challenge. I call it tiny challenge, one-on-one challenge. All right, for 5 days. We do this for sometimes less than 30 minutes in a day, sometimes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how the conversation goes. And you're given your daily tasks to go perform so that you can get the best result. Yes. Testimonials are already flooded on my inbox for those that have participated. I'll start bringing them up soon. I've been so busy and engaged, so I've not been able to do that. All right, so I want to thank you for being a part of our community. Our next program will be on Monday morning by 5 a.m. as we will be discussing a beautiful book. Hopefully, maybe I'll check out any of this book and maybe we can discuss it in the book of motivation Monday. But with that being said, I believe you've been able to learn a lot from feedback, knowing fully well that it is a necessity for your growth. Yes, now you are talking about Nachi. I learned that feedback helps to make our one better. It brings clarity and enhances growth as you learn from your mistakes. People pay thousands of dollars just to have somebody who will be able to give them feedback. And that's what we call coaching accountability. Yes, you want me to be your coach on a level where you are accountable to me. I give you feedback, I help you pivot, I help you set intention for every new week and season. That is it. It is feedback, right? So what if you learn it now? What if you become the feedback coach? The feedback coach, how to give feedback, how to receive feedback. These are some of the things you learn in personal development. And once your curiosity is stirred up and you decide to zone in and research deeply, you just begin to see that there are a lot of values embedded that can really set you apart. Mercy says, I have learned to balance giving positive and constructive feedback. I also learned about listening while receiving feedback. That's great. Well done, Mercy. I'm glad you learned. Uh, Babalola, how you doing? Babalola was I think they're my second student in the breeding for execution blueprint. Well done. She says she has learned that feedback is essential for growth. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So we have learned feedback today. So it means that in all our programs, subsequent programs, when you're giving your lessons, you give it thoroughly. We know that you are in this class. Fongwan says, I've learned how to receive feedback. I need to be attentive and ask questions for clarification. So I love this part so much. It really touched my heart because there are times that people give you feedback and you just assume what they have not said. Yes. And then the person will not be like, it happens to all of us, it happens to me a lot. And the person will not be like, oh, coach, I never met it that way. That's not what I was saying. But you have done your calculation, your plus and minus, and you have concluded that that's what they're saying. All right. So you see that paying of attention, it is critical, not really because of the individual that is giving the feedback, but because of the fact that you have to help yourself. Your emotions matters at the end of the day, so you don't assume situation and you're just so carried away, right? You must be ready to clarify. If somebody says something, why did you say this thing to me? Why did you say this thing to me? What do you mean? Please, in clear terms, what do you mean? If you also said, oh, for example, I've learned how to receive feedback. I could ask Fongo, what is it? Why should I even receive feedback in the first place? I'm clarifying, and then she goes on and say, "Oh, Coach Faith, you have to receive feedback because it's a necessity for your growth." Do you see that? Because it is going to motivate you to do the work, because it is going to help you set clear objectives to be able to do what is needful in your life. Do you see that? Evelyn says, I learned that feedback takes me to a growth level. Yes, takes you from a place of comfort, place of growth. Because if you want to stay in the place of comfort, you will not get better. Many of my so you guys can really attest to the fact that when I give feedback, if you're really willing and ready to execute on it, to do the work, you are going to see massive results. You're going to see massive transformation in your own world. All right. So, friends, we're going to continue from this place next week. Next week, we're going to round off on. Yes, I've seen your feedback, Ma'am Ordinachi. So, next week, we're going to round off. I hope to talk about curiosity next week as a means to learn because it's one of the major pathway to excellent learning. First edition on this first episode, we've spoken about self regulations. The second one was about from comfort zone to growth zone. Today we've spoken about feedback. Next week we hope to look into curiosity and other key areas that are connected to that so that your learning can be so powerful. These are the different compartments of learning excellently. Yes, I hope this should even be in a boot camp where you are really able to implement and interact. Hopefully, maybe in subsequent months to come. Thank you so much. I will see you next week, Friday. Have a lovely, lovely night rest. I love you all. Bye. Bye. Love you all, family. Yes, this is the Readers Public Show, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.